Hello everybody and welcome back to ZakIsCinema. Yes, welcome back everybody. If you find that you just have nobody that'll listen to you talk about found footage horror and maybe think it's just a dumb genre and tell you to stop talking about it, well, don't worry, you could just tell me thank you right now, because now we have each other to talk to about all our favorite found footage movies, because that is exactly what we're going to be doing today together here. So today we're going to be reviewing and discussing VHS Viral, which came out in 2014. So as we jump into the review and discussion for VHS Viral, obviously on the channel here, we've been covering the VHS franchise, and we've made it a community goal here at ZakIsCinema to try and cover the entire franchise, maybe even including the spin-offs in the month of October. So if you like found footage, if you like the VHS franchise, definitely stay tuned throughout this month, because we're going to be delving into all of them here. So if you're new to this video or this channel or this series here, we are actually going to be breaking down and doing basically mini reviews and discussions for each and every short. So going through the movie like that, and then including the frame narrative right at the end, so you kind of get my overall thoughts on the movie here. And I'm also doing something a bit different with my rating system. At the end of each short, we are going to be doing it on a point scale. So I'm going to be giving it 0 points if I just did not have a good time with this, don't recommend it, half a point if I'm kind of mixed on it, and then 1 point if I fully recommend it and had a really good time with the short. And then at the end, for my rating for the movie, we're going to be averaging those out, so you kind of get a percentage on my thoughts here. So without further ado, let's jump into VHS Viral, starting with the first short called Dante the Great, directed by Greg Bishop. A small-time magician obtains a cursed cloak that grants him real magical powers that twist him into something violent and horrifying. I feel like I've been saying this a lot in my VHS segments, especially the ones that I'm kind of mixed on or don't really enjoy, but for sure this one definitely has a very unique and interesting concept and that kind of initial premise. I feel like there's a lot you could do with a more horror-centric version of the Prestige, which is basically what this short is. I feel like there's a lot of potential there, a lot of creepy things you could do with this magician who actually has magical powers but decides to use it for evil. I feel like there's something there. However, with this short, it is just so poorly written and poorly acted. It just comes off as just kind of cheesy and stupid, unfortunately. And centering it around this creepy cloak that even Houdini himself had to get rid of because he didn't like how it made him feel, apparently. They make that concept just go for its stupidest outcome possible, unfortunately. And it's just so frustrating kind of watching this short kind of slowly fall apart. This magician gets this magical cloak. He figures out it has real magic, which is cool, but then he somehow figures out in order for it to keep its magical powers, it has to eat his assistants for whatever reason. So he's kind of stuck in this loop of just feeding people to his cloak, but never really explained why it needs to feed on people to have magical powers. There's no real backstory or lore to this, or if it's infecting him and just kind of pushing him to do this. Again, all the interesting things they could have done, they just do the most surface level, kind of lame and boring version of it all. And unfortunately, throughout the whole short, this magician guy is so over the top, and the cloak is just so all-powerful and comes off as so cheesy that he literally just turns into this villainous form of Doctor Strange, or I guess Wanda with a cloak is how he kind of comes off. And again, I feel like with its concept, it was a good idea, but again, just not given the budget or professionalism that this short really needed. At the end, when the SWAT team is confronting this magician, he gets in a standoff with the SWAT team and is audibly welcoming them to the show, and is flying around them and whipping around him and destroying this SWAT team with his magical cloak powers. And when he's in the middle of killing all these dudes, he's like, see, there's nothing up my sleeve. And giving all these dumb one-liners that don't come off as funny. They just kind of come off as really, really silly, unfortunately, in the worst way possible. Like, the whole short almost kind of felt like a parody version of itself, or a parody version of something that should have been much creepier. And then I think about halfway through this one, I realized, why is this in a VHS movie? This isn't really found footage. They do some documentary interviews kind of spliced through to make it look like a documentary found footage style, but all the scenes with the magician, sometimes he has a camera, but then especially towards the end, it looks like a regular movie, and then kind of every once in a while it cuts to a security cam or tripod camera setup, but the rest of it is not found footage. So I really just do not know what on earth they were thinking with this one. This one truly just lost me after its first 30 seconds. Such a poorly executed idea on a concept that could have been really, really interesting. So unfortunately for my rating for this one, we got to go 0 points. Next, we're going to be discussing Parallel Monsters, directed by Nacho Vigalondo. A man invents a portal to a parallel universe, swaps places with his alternative self, and discovers the mirror world is far more twisted than he imagined. And again, this one has such a cool, unique setup, and very similar to shorts that they did in VHS 2 and VHS 1. This blend of unique horror and sci-fi kind of twisted into each other, almost giving me that found footage Black Mirror vibe that I think really, really works well in this VHS franchise. So I hope they finally find a way to maybe give me a sci-fi short here that really sticks the landing. But I'd say the majority of this one works. I have my problems with how it starts revealing things, but I think it is really interesting how this guy is building this parallel world, alternate reality mirror where he is hoping to cross into parallel universes, and he's just building it in his garage like a more realistic Rick and Morty basically. And I really like when this one starts going and he finds out the mirror, this door thing that he's working on, actually works, and he opens up this parallel universe literally to himself in a garage and sees himself as this other parallel version was trying to do the same thing, and they both figure it out at the same exact time. And I love when they decide to cross into each other's universes, give each other a time limit of 15 minutes, and as they're going through each other's houses, how it's all mirrored, but then they slowly start discovering some different creepy things that don't make sense to them. Like our normal original guy is going upstairs and sees a picture of this cult-like demon kind of practice, while the other guy's going into the normal world from his other world, and then sees that same picture in the same spot, but it's instead of him and his wife, and they're both acting confused as to why they would have this on each other's walls. So simple things like that really kind of get this sci-fi concept to its full potential here. Kind of very, very interesting, very creepy and unsettling, and just such an interesting thing to kind of explore in this franchise. And then I think it keeps going with its positive elements here. As soon as the normal first world guy goes into this alternate reality and then comes across his wife that's in the parallel universe, but she's outside in this robe, almost looking like she's about to do a threesome, and then asking if they're fine if her husband joins. So you could tell this couple's vastly different than what he's used to. And then while that's going on, the alternate dimension guy of himself is going upstairs and like taking pictures of his wife, so you know something's up, something's not exactly right, and one of them has some nefarious idea of what they want to do while they're in this world, and we're just here seeing it kind of play out. However, I think it made me so sad and disappointed when this short just goes off the rails. When you get that parallel version of himself taking pictures of his wife, and then he starts to like unbuckle his pants, and you're like, oh my god, what on earth is about to happen? Am I gonna see something that I didn't want to see? But then he like whips out, I guess, his alien penis or something that comes out of his pants, but it's so goofy and cheaply made that it literally just looks like some crew member put their hand in this puppet that they made, and it has this like penis alien mouth to it, and he wakes up the dude's wife with it, and she starts screaming, and then we get shots of the wife in the parallel universe. This is getting all confusing. This is like Inception level of stuff right now, but the parallel wife's version has this monster vagina that looks like a Venus flytrap. Pretty much. And when you get the first shot of them, it's just like, oh, what are we doing here? Like, it took such a unique, interesting idea, could have done something really creepy and unsettling, and really delved into maybe these characters and their parallel versions of themselves, are maybe playing up what their deep dark secrets are. Like, there's so much more you could have done, but instead you just do like alien genitals, and it just kind of goes nowhere. It really lost me when they switch back and the evil alien dude, his wife, confronts him and starts making her vagina just like eat him. It's no longer creepy. It's no longer scary. It's no longer interesting. It just kind of comes off as goofy and kind of weird at the end of the day. And the resolution just wasn't all that interesting. Not really worth it, unfortunately. And this one's frustrating because I think overall I enjoy like 60 to 70% of it, and then once it starts getting to its reveals, it just loses me. So I'm gonna give it credit here because I still think it's interesting. I still think it's unique. It was a good idea. It just failed to kind of land it. So I think for this one, we are gonna go half a point. Next, we're going to be discussing Bone Storm, which was directed by Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead. Some skateboarders travel to a different area to film a skate video and end up stumbling into a remote demonic cult ritual and must fight for their lives. And this short, unfortunately, had a lot of my complaints with maybe VHS Halloween and the first VHS movie, where we just get introduced to these characters that we're going to be following, and they're just so despicable, uninteresting, and you just don't want to follow them, and you're really just following them just to see how they end up dying, which I hate going into some of these shorts like this. Like, yes, it makes it fun once they do start dying, but I'd like to at least care about them maybe a little bit. So I feel like when you don't, it kind of takes out any intensity the short could have, unfortunately. And these skaters are just deplorable human beings. They're just skating around, acting like assholes to people, doing drugs, beating up people in the first 5 to 10 minutes. So I was just really struggling to kind of get into it, and it does take a little bit for this short to really get going, because we just follow them skating around for a bit at the beginning. So there's not much of a story going on with this one. And I feel like in a lot of these VHS movies so far, we get a lot centered around demonic cult-like rituals, spiritual rituals in this series so far. And to me, there just wasn't that much creepy about this version of that, with these guys skating around in an unfamiliar area, and the dried up river area they're skating on just has a bunch of demonic cult symbols kind of spray painted on the ground. So not too creepy, not too interesting. I'm just kind of waiting for them to die, unfortunately. And then as soon as these demonic cult creatures kind of come out, they're not that scary. It's shot in broad daylight, so none of them are hidden. You always kind of know where they're at, which was kind of frustrating. And they just look like something out of like a mix of Mad Max characters with Star Wars characters, and just nothing feels all that creepy or intense about it, unfortunately. And then we just start seeing these lame skater dudes going around beating up these people, killing these people. Apparently they had guns, and you get these first-person shooting action scenes with the skateboarders shooting these cult members, killing them with their skateboards, and it almost gets into this music video-esque kind of format, and it's not that scary seeing these kids who really could not beat up anybody just take out this cult like it's like nothing, which I just don't even understand what this short was really going for. It seemed to have no direction, unfortunately. And at one point they're skating around shooting fireworks at the demons, and it's like so past its plot and concept that it doesn't feel grounded in any sort of way. Not scary, not interesting. And the most frustrating part of this is it just kind of ends. We don't even really get the satisfaction of seeing these awful skater dudes die. We just kind of have it end almost like the filmmakers were like, just turn it in. I don't feel like finishing this. That's how the resolution kind of feels to this one. So overall, not a fan of this one. It feels like a half-baked idea where they forgot to finish writing it, unfortunately. So we're going 0 points on that one. But lastly, let's talk about the frame narrative called Vicious Cycles, directed by Marcel Sarmiento. Kevin, who is obsessed with filming anything that'll go viral, chases a runaway ice cream truck during a live police chase, only to have it all entangle with supernatural viral phenomenon and a desperate mission to save his girlfriend, Iris. So this one's definitely a big mixed bag for me. First, I will say I do think it works well as a frame narrative, and I like that it obviously feels so vastly different than our first two VHS movies' frame narratives, where we're not necessarily getting an explanation as to someone sitting down and we're watching the tapes with them, but there's a different kind of explanation to the tapes and why we're kind of seeing them play out. So I do enjoy that it kind of works on that frame narrative level, and I do like its kind of themes and messages about people recording things, trying to chase that viral sensation, and just trying to record things to get famous, and how that can lead people kind of a dark path. And I think it does have an interesting setup where we're seeing this police chase with this ice cream truck. It goes past this dude's house and he goes outside to try and record it. And then his girlfriend Iris kind of gets possessed almost as the ice cream truck flies by and it just disappears. So he thinks the person in the ice cream truck must have his girlfriend. So he's kind of going out into the streets trying to follow them and trying to find them. And I think once this one wrapped up, it was so interesting in concept and again made sense as this kind of frame narrative, and I really did appreciate its kind of sci-fi vibe to this. The chase keeps getting weirder as it goes on, and then we start to slowly notice that every time the ice cream truck passes through an area, strange or violent things start happening. So it's almost like it's like infecting those around it, and then we kind of get that connective tissue as it's driving by places. It kind of infects people. So we see that set off like other short films in this movie, like the Dante the Great and Parallel Monsters, as the truck is kind of connecting everything together. So I think it's very interesting. It's a very unique kind of idea that they're going for. And I like that at the end, it's kind of implying that this ice cream truck was spreading or transmitting these VHS signals, or kind of a supernatural viral infection turned into something corrupting its environment. So I do like that it kind of, again, plays into that viral title of obviously trying to get a viral video, but also this ice cream truck with this viral infection. So I do enjoy the themes and messages and metaphors of what they're kind of going for. And I find it interesting when our main character of Kevin catches up to the ice cream truck. He finds all the VHS tapes and bizarre equipment that is broadcasting these supernatural videos. I like that he finds Iris, but she's almost kind of part of the VHS machine almost, and she's been absorbed into this viral signal herself. And then Kevin kind of realizes that the obsession with filming and watching has consumed her. It's consumed everybody this ice cream truck is kind of driven by. And then at the end, Kevin kind of becomes part of this loop, his own footage turning into another tape as he kind of uploads it and then figures out what happens. So this one is definitely very, very ambitious. It's not so much creepy. It's just more of the idea of it is very very creepy and unsettling. I like the themes, I like the messages. Just unfortunately, I feel like it kind of gets a little bit convoluted trying to find this like big grand sci-fi idea of explaining how these tapes are being made and how they're being broadcasted. Like, I feel like it just kind of leaves me with so many more questions than answers, even though I do kind of like that ambiguity to this. So this one's kind of interesting, where I don't know if it fully sticks the landing. It's kind of confusing. I kind of had to look up some things to make sure that's exactly what it was saying, because I don't know if it conveyed it all that well, and I like the ideas more than how it kind of sticks the landing here, but very ambitious. Definitely one that sticks out to me, especially in this mess of a movie here. So I think for the frame narrative here, we are going to give it a 0.5 point. So all that to say, overall, I've heard this is the worst VHS movie, and unfortunately, it kind of lived up to that expectation. It had a ton of great concepts. However, it felt like the majority of them just had no idea what to do with them, or a couple of them really just kind of struggled to pay it off and land its ship. So ultimately, besides the frame narrative, it just kind of left me with a forgettable, bland experience. So for my rating for this movie is, out of a total of 4 shorts, yes, this is, I think, the shortest VHS movie. We have 4 shorts including the frame narrative, and I'm giving this a 1 out of 4, so a 25% for VHS Viral. But that's about it. You guys have my thoughts on VHS Viral. Let me know down below what you think of this movie. Do you think this is easily the worst one, or does ZakIsCinema have worse VHS movies to start watching here? Is he gonna have a bad experience with something else here? Let me know. Do you like some more than me? Are there a couple more that stand out to you? How do you like the frame narrative? Definitely let me know all that down below. Very curious to hear everyone's thoughts and opinions on this VHS Viral movie. So that's about it. I appreciate anybody watching my videos. It does mean a lot, so thank you so much. And yeah, look forward to more ZakIsCinema coming very soon.